Hello everyone, KosakChess here. The round number 4 of International Kraków Championship has ended, in which I faced the international master Marcin Siciechowicz from Poland. There is a funny story because we have played 7 tournament games against each other, and I have never won against him. Never ever in any tournament game. Did it change today? Let's check. e4, e6, French defense. This is almost a pet line of Marcin Siciechowicz. He loves to play French. I decided to go for Tarrasch, knight d2. In recent times, I was rather choosing knight c3, but I was hoping that knight d2, it is a little bit more stable and more calm approach, but I prepared some interesting line. c5, knight gf3. This is the best response for, this is the best move in this position, which almost equalizes. Knight gf3, c takes d4, e takes d5. In my database, you could only find knight d4, I think. So e d5 is already a surprise in my database. Queen d5, bishop c4, queen d6, and knight e4 idea. This is a sideline. I saw that Jospem played this move against Kramnik in his online ERL match, which Jospem won. It was like a month ago or something like this. It was really recent and fresh event. Knight e4, queen b2, and knight fd2. So it looks a little bit weird to jump with this knight like this and to undo my knight on d2. But the idea is that let's have a look, that I developed 3 of my pieces, and I am going to castle really soon. And all pieces are on the last rank, so for the sacrifice pawn I have a compensation for sure. Knight d7, this is the move I have not prepared. I was only looking for knight c6, something like knight f6. Knight d7 looks really normal, and it's probably okay because this move doesn't refute the French. But yeah, I just decided to play normal moves. Castle, knight f6, and c3 in many lines. The c3 move appeared, and he played the move queen b6. I think this is a good idea to not open the position dc3, bc3, because I sometimes get an opportunity to play the rook b1 or bishop a3. So definitely opening the position on the queen side is in my favor. So queen b6 is okay. And rook e1. I was maybe not bluffing, but I was trying to make normal moves, and it sounds really good, really reasonable move to put the rook on the same file where the opponent's king is. So rook e1, and if he tries to develop normally like bishop e7, I have knight g5. This is what I was hoping for, and he can never make a castle because of knight d6 ideas, right? F e6. Rook e6, and because of this bishop I can win some great bunch of material. That's why I was really concerned about the move which happened on the board. h6 looks looks slowly, but it's a prophylaxis, and it's a great prophylaxis. h6, probably during the game I thought this is the only good move for him. The rest one allows me for going knight g5. h6, now c takes d4. I decided to take because I didn't see any better option. Marcin told me after the game that something like bishop b3 came across his mind, and knight c4, maybe something connected with knight d6. I didn't even consider such ideas, but when he told me about it, it looks interesting. It looks interesting, but I also thought that c takes d4 is pretty okay. Bishop e7, he probably can, I am not sure, but after queen d4 I was hoping for queen a4, trying to some knight f6 ideas. I will jump with this knight on e4, bishop e3. I get so many pieces in the game with a tempo, so taking the pawn immediately may be dubious. Bishop e7, normal development, and knight g3. I know in general when you have knight on d7, knight on f6, and you don't allow them to just go knight e4, knight f6, and then allow this bishop d7, c6. If you don't allow for this plan, it should be okay for white, because knight on d7 in many variations, especially against the isolated pawn, is really dubious on this d7 square. So knight g3 was really fine when I played, and I was sure that everything works, because also I have some d5 ideas, maybe even knight f5, so knight on g3 looks maybe even dangerous. But queen takes d4, he accepts the challenge, and at the first sight when I calculated knight g3, I thought I have queen e2, castle, and bishop takes e6, which happened in the game. If not castle, then I have this powerful move knight f5, queen e7 is a checkmate threat. So he has to make a castle, and bishop takes e6. And, you know, this only looks dangerous, but probably it isn't that dangerous. After f e6, queen e6, I think I am on the verge of winning, because he has two moves. Like, he can escape with the king, let's say king h8, but I play really important knight f3 first. I can't take on e7 due to the rook e8. But if I play knight f3 first, my knight gets a contact with the rook on e1, and if the queen escapes somewhere, for example on a4, queen e7, rook e8, now I can escape on d6, and the knight is protecting the rook, and I am healthy pawn up, and his pieces are still undeveloped, which gives me probably a winning position. If he played instead rook f7, then I have knight f5, and I am attacking the queen and the bishop, and some intermezzo moves like knight c5 doesn't work because I can take the rook, take the queen, and I am exchange up. And he played I think this is a really accurate move, bishop b4. Amazing move. After which I spent 35 minutes, something like this. I was calculating many lines, but I wasn't sure about any of it, really. Any of them. I wasn't sure about any of them, because, like, now my bishop is hanging, because this bishop escaped. So I had to review this position once again, and start to calculate, can I make a use somehow of this bishop on e6. So I started calculating checks, captures, and attacks, because this position is full of some tactical ideas, tactical motives, that I should calculate everything. Of course, bishop f7, rook f7 doesn't work. Bishop d7, this is not the way I want to continue the position. I want rather to keep the bishop on this diagonal, and not to develop his undeveloped bishop from c8. So bishop d7 just can't work. I started calculating knight f5, which looked good at the first glance, because if the queen escapes, now I escape with the bishop, and I have this knight on f5, which might be sometimes unpleasant for my opponent. But I didn't like after knight f5 he has queen c5. A really important move, because he keeps an eye on my knight. He still keeps an eye on my bishop. I can't escape because my knight is hanging. So I can now attack the queen, retreat it to the worse square, but now he can go to b6. And the difference is that now bishop is attacking the rook, and still two of my pieces are hanging, and it's a really big problem. Even in this position, I was calculating even more, even further, like knight h6, maybe, just to, I don't know, prove that I activated my pieces for some reason. But no, there is no reason. He can just chop every of my piece, boom, and my attack even didn't begin, but it's already over. Even he offers me a queen trade, but he still can chop one of my rook, and it's like, I don't really want to look at this any deeper. So after bishop b4, I was calculating, maybe something like knight f3, but it's still queen b6, and still my rook is attacked and my bishop is attacked. That's why this bishop b4 is so annoying, because it pins my knight and I can't really move it. Okay, so but you just took the pawn, maybe you can come back with the bishop. This is what I played, this is what I decided for, but after 35 minutes of thinking, it's crazy, it's insane. I was playing faster than my opponent, I was controlling the situation on the clock, and then boom, 35 minutes. It shouldn't happen. I was mostly concerned about the move rook e8 there, which didn't happen in the game, but we were both unsure about this position, because I have to do something. If I escape with the queen, just calmly, he can take queen e1, knight e5. So he centralizes his knight. He opens his bishop, and still my knight is hanging. This is now me who can't end the development normally. If I go queen e2, unpinning the knight, then he goes bishop g4. His pieces are so active, I can't end development. He's already much better, I think, there. So after rook e8, I am supposed, I think, to take on e8. Knight e8. I thought maybe knight f3 is somewhat like a bit accurate move, but I am not sure. Let's say queen b6, rook e8, and knight f8. And the position is that I have rook and piece against the queen. He's sometimes threatening me something like queen c6. But after it, I calculate something like knight e5 maybe to attack the f7 pawn. But I wasn't sure. Like, imagine that maybe you don't control the whole game, but you sacrifice a pawn in the opening. You hope for some compensation. You hope for some counterplay. Okay, I was ready to give up a pawn, maybe 2 pawns, but not a queen. Not a queen for sure. Like, yeah, I don't know what to say about this position. Probably, well, like, for sure, like knight e5 is also annoying because it covers the c6 square, so queen c6 impossible. After queen b5, bishop f7, king h7. Now it should be okay because this bishop is pinned, so he still can't end the development. Now I can play like bishop e3. It's still not clear for me. Maybe after bishop d6 or something, but no, okay, like this position, I am not worried about. I'm not worried about this position. With this rook on e8, it should be maybe okay. But I wasn't really sure because he can also cover the line with this bishop and play knight f6, which is also really simple way to deal with this rook. Bishop e3, let's say queen b4 maybe, and knight f6. Knight d5 I can't play because the square is covered. Maybe rook d1, but rook d1, knight f6. Yes, I can try to push this position of maybe I have the compensation, but if he plays king h7, I don't know. If he moves this bishop on e7, he kicks off my rook, I am not sure. I am not sure. That's why I spent 35 minutes just to realize that I am not sure about this position. But luckily or not luckily, he played knight c5, which is a normal looking move, but also a good one, because normal active move, attacking my bishop, wants to develop his own. Everything is fine. Knight f3, queen d3, really accurate things. Queen d3, knight d3, rook d1, knight c1, and rook c1. And I also saw this position because it was like almost forced. Maybe he shouldn't go queen d3. He can also go queen d8, but I would go rook d1 anyway, and we'll try bishop e3, rook c1. Maybe bishop c4 to not lose this bishop. And I will try to end this development. Let's say this bishop on b4 is a little bit weirdly placed. I can always play a3, b4 to kick him off. a3, b4. He played queen d3, rook d1, knight c1, rook ac1, and seeing this position, also while I was calculating this bishop b3 retreat, I thought, okay, he has bishop pair, but I have something like rook c7 in the air, I have knight e5, attacking the pawn on f7, so I felt like this is the lesser evil, because now I control this position. I know what is happening. There is no material imbalance. So yeah, like I was happy of the course of the events. He played bishop g4, and now I regret. Now I regret my decision because I played rook c7, hoping for some stupid tactic which also doesn't work. I should go for rook d4. I think I should go for rook d4, and although I will tell you why. Because this rook on c7 was paradoxically helping him to solve the problems, because he retreated the bishop from b4 with the tempo. I should go for rook d4 immediately, and after bishop f3, gf3, bishop a5, I have knight f5. Although still rook e8, knight d6, rook e7, probably he still covers everything. He controls the f7 square, he controls the b7 square, bishop b6 is coming, rook d8 is coming. Probably he solved all of his problems anyway. But I prefer rather to worry about the position with the knight on d6, instead with the knight on g3. What happened in the game? Because I played rook c7 immediately, rook a b8 covering the pawn, and at first I thought maybe I have rook f7. Rook f7, bishop f7, king f7, knight e5, king e6, knight g4, knight g4, and rook d4. And I calculated this whole line, and I thought, okay, maybe I will grab one of these two pieces. But he has knight f2 move, knight f2. I can't take the knight because of bishop c5, so I have to take the bishop. And he has the only move, knight d3, which attacks my rook, and he escapes on e5, and the position is equal, the material is equal. Maybe he's even, with the king on e6, maybe he's, I don't know, maybe a little even better. I'm not sure, but seeing all this variation, I just decided, no, I can't go for something like this. I can't. And I played rook c7, then I calculated knight f2, and I realized, okay, rook on c7 is not the best placed rook in the world, so I played rook d4 right now, but he trade, and bishop a5. So he escaped with the bishop, like in the previous variation. I thought I played knight f5, knight d6, but now I have to escape with my rook. Rook e7, kick off the rook, and play rook e8. And like, I don't have anything. He ended his development. He destroyed my pawn structure. Yes, I have this bishop on b3, but I can't really make a use of it. If I don't manage to put my rook on the 7th rank, I just can't make a use of my bishop. And he controls d7 square, he controls c7 square, e7 square, he controls everything. So, yeah. I was trying to continue the game. I played knight e4, trying to improve a little bit my pawn structure and trying to, implicate that with this bishop on d5 I have a slight edge, but he played really brilliantly. King f8, king g2, rook c8, not caring about bishop b7 because he plays rook c2 and he goes for activation. So after rook c8 I played the move b4, trying to, of course I could force a draw in any moment, but I was trying to fight, I was trying to win, I was trying to get this first win against him. The first game we played against each other, it was 2018. Now 6 years. 6 years happened from the very first game, and I still didn't achieve the win. It's frustrating. Rook c2, rook f3, f6, a4, so we are trying, we are pushing. Rook b2, b5, a6, bishop b7, boom, boom, boom. Bishop d5, king e7. I thought that maybe after rook b2, maybe I would go for something like rook b3 and rook f2, king g3. I have this really funny draw because he can escape with the bishop on these 4 squares, and it doesn't matter where he goes. Wherever he goes, I can attack this bishop, and he can't escape from this diagonal because he still needs to cover this f2 rook. So instead he went king e7, I went rook b3 because all the queenside pawns exchanged, and I have nothing better to do, even if I overpush again with this bishop on b6, which attacks my pawn. It is him who can maybe even try push this position. So I played rook b3. We agreed on a draw. Well, I am disappointed a little bit. I am really curious what the engine says in this position. After bishop takes e6, because I think that, like, I don't know, I was thinking 35 minutes and I couldn't reach any position I liked. Yeah, so let's check it. e6, d4, d5, knight d2, blah blah blah. This is the opening. Knight d4, of course, as I told you, this doesn't refute the French, but it might be an interesting option to play against it. Knight f6, c3. Okay, so c3 is actually not the best idea, but in many variations it works. So, okay, so what should I play? b3, and with the idea of playing a4. And what if I escape? Knight f6. Knight f6. And put the bishop on b2, right? But he gets a typical French structure. He plays queen c7, b6, bishop b7. He doesn't have any problems. So let's say c3 is in the spirit of this position. Queen b6, rook e1. Wow, rook e... Yeah, bishop b3. Okay, so Marcin Sieciechowicz is a smart guy because he offered this move during our analysis to play knight c4 and to have an eye on the d6 square. Marcin Sieciechowicz, wow. Okay, bishop b3. So, but rook e1 is an inaccuracy. But why? And h6 also. Okay. He should go for dc3, but what if I recapture with the pawn? Now bishop e7, and if knight g5? Just knight c5, and it makes sense because with the pawn on d4, I could take the pawn. Okay, so okay, I understand. Well, so he played h6. During the game, we both thought this is a really, really good move. But again, bishop b3, and now the advantage is even bigger. dc3, knight c4 immediately. Yeah, of course, and knight d6. Bishop b3. I didn't even consider this move. It's not that I overlooked it. I didn't even look at it. Knight c4, then I recapture the pawn. Bishop b3. Interesting. Well, I know why I maybe discarded the move bishop b3, because in some variations after dc3, during my analysis, dc3, bc3, I have rook b1, and bishop b3 covers the b file. Maybe that's why I thought, okay, you shouldn't cover this file with anything. But I played cd4, bishop e7, and knight g3 is stupid. I should go simple chess, knight f3, but I didn't like he can take, knight f6, rook e3. Okay, but I just play with the isolated pawn. Right. So just normal development. Yes, and I'm playing this IQD position. IQD or isolated queen's IQP. Isolated queen's pawn. Huh? Oh, whoa. Queen d4. So he accepted the challenge correctly. Queen e2, castle, bishop e6, bishop b4. Yes, bishop b4, really amazing move. And it's an equal position, right? It's an equal position. Well, bishop b3 earlier. I wasn't even looking at this move. Okay, so let's check. Does knight f5 work? Queen c5. And knight b3, queen b6, I was thinking. If I have to take on d7, it's horrible. It is horrible. Yes, I thought also of a3, but bishop d2, fe6, queen e6, king h... doesn't matter, I think. Let's say king h7, bishop b4, and queen d5. Like, it was... but maybe, yeah. I have rook e8 anyway, so I assess this position correctly. I can't go for some complications like this. No. So knight f5 doesn't work. Bishop f5, but bishop f5, he can play normal move like knight b6. Exactly. I didn't even consider seriously these moves covering this diagonal. I thought that bishop b3 is just more sensible way to attack the f7 pawn. Rook e8. Okay, so I have something. Queen e8, knight e8, and knight f3. Wow, so there is a difference. There is a difference, yeah, because after rook e, knight f8, he has queen d7 immediately. So knight f3, this subtle move, queen b6, rook e8. Okay, so I have the compensation there. Maybe I was worried for no reason. But he plays, yeah, normally, knight c5, knight f3, queen d3, knight d3, rook d1, knight c1, rook a c1, and bishop g4, and it's still equal, right? After rook d4, this variation, bishop f3, gf3, bishop a5, knight f5, rook e, knight d6, rook e7, exactly. It's equal. It's equal position anyway. Rook a4 and bishop b6, knight c8, rook c7. Wow. So it was a draw anyway. Rook c7, rook b8, rook d4, chop, chop, chop. Chop. Rook e8. Yeah, it was a... Yeah, then... I could do nothing, it's a draw. It's a draw. Interesting game. Really interesting game. I thought that after bishop e6, I might fight for something, but this bishop b4 response, it is so good. Bishop b4, and really annoying. Really annoying move. So I played normally after 35 minutes of thinking, but it didn't help because he also played normally. Really good game from black side, really. Although I had this bishop b3 idea, I can't even say I underestimated it. I just didn't even had a single look for this move. Bishop b3. Knight c4, yeah, like it's... Knight e4, knight e4, dc. Yeah, bishop e3 now, like all of my pieces are getting into the game, so bishop e3. Well, it could be... It is, of course, a much more better decision. But I even didn't consider it. And after this, yeah, this may be knight g3. Well, I thought during the game it is okay, but I could just go for this IQP position. Maybe not after knight f6. I have to analyze this position because, you know, it rarely happens. When I am e4 player, the positions with isolated pawn really rarely happen on the board. Really rarely. It is rather a concern for d4 players, which I am not. But anyway, I should analyze such positions to become better players. So yeah, it might be a good lesson. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Really interesting game. A really good defense by him. I think I was trying by all my forces, but I just couldn't convert anything. Well, there was nothing to convert because the position was equal, but I was trying all my forces, but it was not enough. Sometimes it happens. But still without loss, 3 out of 4. A decent result, let's say. A decent result. Still 5 rounds to go, so keep fingers crossed and see you in the next recaps. Ciao!